Hello, welcome to the recent episode of the Sports Hub podcast. It's been a goals fest weekend in both Scotland and England, particularly in England, which we'll get onto in the second half of the podcast. But we'll begin this episode by going to, well, we're going to say Love Street, it's no longer that, the new St Mirren Stadium, where Rangers got a 2-1 victory today. Did you manage to see any of the game, Martin?
I saw bits of it. I saw the most of the stuff on the internet, social media. Obviously, the goal from the young Irish boy from distance, great goal. Looking at the reports, I thought from that distance it was maybe a keeper's blunder, but it looked like a great goal. And then after that, social media was awash with comments of, "Oh well, that's Rangers a goal down. We'll just wait for the penalty." And yeah, that happens. It was always going to.
I think it was a penalty.
Oh, it was a penalty, but we all saw it coming anyway. It was a definite penalty, and I think there was even comments on social media of, can you get the still frame pictures, and people are trying to tell you it's not a foul or it was offside or it's not offside. There was a still frame picture of the guy falling outside the box. This Rangers penalty was actually a penalty, not like most of the other ones or the red cards that they either receive or not receive, depending on who it's for at Ibrox. But it was a penalty. But St. seemed to be in the game up till then. I think Rangers just had a bit too much for them. I was actually looking forward to St. Mirren doing something against Rangers.
Yeah,
you see much of it?
I saw glimpses, mostly the second half, which was a pretty drab affair.
One-sided.
If I'm being honest, going into the game, I thought it'll be a good game. St Mirren were unbeaten in 6. Rangers have started to have a wee bit of an upturn in form. Even though they drew against Hearts, they should have won the game quite convincingly. They did well midweek, and today was another day other than the early St Mirren goal. It should have been an easy, comfortable win for Rangers. And again, they struggled to, other than that 5-minute spell where they scored 2 goals, they struggled to actually convert any chances. So if you're a Rangers fan, you're happy. Performances are improving. I think that's got to do a lot with Stephen Davis having a reduced role in the team and making them quicker in transition, which I think they have learned from Scott Brown of Celtic's 10 in a row quest, and that maybe having an aging midfielder who's slightly slower than they used to be. If you're playing against a low block, you can't have them in the team. You just need to have somebody who can play the ball quicker. Lundstrom gives them that option. But yeah, if you're Steven Gerrard, you're happy. Performances are improving. You're still getting results, top of the league. Yeah, you're happy. But St Mirren didn't really offer anything. It was very disappointing watching them.
I think it's all fair enough going 2-1 down to Rangers. It's what you decide to do at the point of being 2-1 down. It's a league game. It doesn't matter if you lose 3-1 or 2-1. You've got to start going for it against, and I think that's you give too much respect to some teams. Last 10-15 minutes, you've got to push forward. You've got to be trying for these to get a goal if you're within a goal of winning it or getting a point.
Yeah, and I think that's a criticism we'll come on to later when we talk about the Celtic St Johnstone game, because St Johnstone were similar to St Mirren. Maybe it's something to do with Saints. They were just awfully defensive. They were going for nothing each game. But yeah,
there's so many jokes I can't tell right now.
But yeah, so moving on from that game, because I don't think there's much more to say from it. We can go to perhaps I would say a shock result from the weekend. Hibs losing away to Aberdeen, who haven't been in great form.
I think that's where you've got to take the good points of it, which there isn't very many of. That Hibs losing 1-0 to Aberdeen away from home is a terrible result. And that just didn't used to be the case. And I think Hibs went in one direction, Aberdeen went in another direction. But that should have been a lot more convincing for the Hibs side. We've just been flat last week, this week, since the international break. Things need to change. Defence looks dodgy. I don't think we had any shots on target. I think we had something like 10 shots, 6 or 7 shots maybe. I'm not got the stats in front of me. 6 or 7 shots, and 4 of them were blocked, and the rest of them were off target. So nothing for the keeper to do, and that's just not good enough for a team of Hibs ilk.
You've said that they've been flat since the international break return. Is it because of players, or is it because of the system the manager's trying to implement?
I think it's more players. I think there is instances of getting that. I think the liveliest point's been Martin Boyle the last couple of weeks. There's always a chance that he's created, or pressing last defenders, or making some dribbling at people. Obviously, there is comments about him going down a lot, and no wonder the amount of times he gets kicked. Apart from Martin Boyle, though, Nisbet's been flat, non-existent at times. And the social media side of things are all asking for the young players to be given a chance. Gillen came on, but you've got O'Connor, who's in the under-19s, who is Gary O'Connor's son. He's banging the goals away, and there's another lad in the 19s that's name. I can't think of it at this point in time. But it's just a case of creating chances and putting them away, and we just we weren't creating chances. I think some of that comes from I like Porteous at the back. I know that he's not played the last 2 games, obviously through suspension because of the red card that he received at Ibrox. And he actually starts a lot of things that there's a thing about centre halves now. Your centre half turns out your sort of quarterback, where yes, you will have Neil dropping in and starting short things, but he's also got the ability to start with a longer diagonal or fine feet at a bit more distance. And we haven't had that last couple of weeks. Scott Allen came off the bench again. Expect him to create something. Nothing. I like Jake Doyle-Hayes. He was up against Scott Brown. He did all right. And Aberdeen didn't look great, and they still managed to get a win. But Aberdeen, they've had a long run of bad results, and they were always likely to turn that round at some point. Unfortunately, it was against Hibs.
If you could drop one player from the Hibs team, who would it be?
Oh, Nisbet.
Nisbet. Oh. Well, that was pretty simple. That sounded like you were going to stress over that, but it was like, Nisbet. Nice dramatics for a foregone conclusion. What else was a foregone conclusion? This is a terrible link, but I'm going with it. Was a Livingston victory away to Ross County. Ross County, we said the last week, most likely to be relegated. I think this result confirms that narrative.
And they played well as well. They had chances. They had a penalty at 1-0 up. Wasn't a great penalty. And then they got another penalty later on to can't remember if it turned into 2-2 or 3-2, whatever it was. But I think Livingston have just turned a corner, and they're starting to grind out results. But you kind of have to feel for Ross County a bit. They were in the game, just yet again coming away with nothing.
Yeah, going into this weekend, they were 7th on the expected points table, so they are playing quite well. They're just not picking up results. But as Bruce always tells us, it's about results, and if you get into this slump, and you should be picking points at home to Livingston. Even if you're
Yes.
playing well, the confidence will start to dip, and when that starts in the rut steps, and it's hard to U-turn that. And as much as I know you don't like Malky Mackay, it's hard to see Ross County getting a better manager than him. So who would they get in if they sacked him?
I know. I don't think he's in line to get sacked yet. I think he's got to have a bit more time. The problem Ross County have is what players you can get in as opposed to what managers you can get in. It's a difficult to get players to move up to Ross County or drive up there every day, and not pay them a lot of money for doing it. So I don't foresee a massive influx of better players coming in. As you say, that they're creating chances, they're just not scoring goals.
Yeah, that thing about location, I think that's a good point, and maybe one that might be worth talking about in a future podcast.
Yes.
How big a role does location play in player recruitment in terms of England and Newcastle potentially suffering from that as well?
That's what they always said about Newcastle a long time ago. It was really difficult to get good players to go there because they all wanted to go to London or Manchester. But we could talk about that
later. Yeah. The game that I watched in the SPFL this weekend is unsurprisingly Celtic St Johnstone.
So Celtic were playing against the Saints. Who did you support?
Celtic. Not even a close contention for me. Comfortable win. How would I describe the game? 3-0 would have probably been a fair result. I'll take 2-0. Starfelt for me was man of the match. He's had a few criticisms early on, particularly with his debut away to Hearts, Tynecastle. He was thrown into that. It's a hard.
He basically stepped off the plane and then right to the pitch just about.
And then he had a bit of a shaky start after that, as you can imagine. Yeah. After the international break, complete opposite to Hibs. He's looked very assured, very comfortable. The odd mistake and it's like a misplaced pass, and you're like, "Oh, crikey, why did you do that?" But for 89 minutes of the game, he looks very assured, solid defensively. Carter Vickers compliments him well. So that's encouraging. Juranovic, we have finally found a penalty taker. Oh my goodness. Not we don't get many penalties, but when we do, we've got
because you're not Rangers.
We've got somebody to put them away. It'll just be nice to see him play right back rather than left back because he's a right back. Unless Ange has a philosophy to make him Croatia's left back before Barisic, but I think that's maybe reading too much into the old firm divide in Croatian national football terms. But it just shows we need a left back. If we're playing Juranovic there, McGregor, pretty good. I'll say pretty good, very good. Turnbull, Rogic, meh. Could have been better. Jota, he's class. Celtic, whatever you do, put £6.5 million aside so we can activate the right to buy that we've got. The Greek striker, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name.
Yeah, sure.
Giacomakis, I think that was it. He looks good. Gives Celtic a different option. Very physical. Proper number 10, just in the box. Will put things away, compete for headers. Kyogo was non-existent on their wing. Celtic's got a problem in that regard. We've got the Greek striker and Kyogo, two names I cannot pronounce, and that's why they can't play up front together. Imagine a commentator trying to go Giacomakis passes to Furiashi, back to Giacomakis. Oh, that's a tongue twister and a half. But no, Ange will only play one up front, and we've got two cracking strikers. It's a good problem to have, not complaining. Yeah. Once Forrest comes in, I think he'll take the right of the team, give Abad a bit of a rest. So it's looking good. And then the one person I have to mention is Mikey Johnston. He came on during the week on Tuesday
I kind of
afternoon.
like him.
He looked good on Tuesday afternoon, came on yesterday. He looked good as well. What he's benefited from in both those games is the opposition, Werner and St Johnstone, starting to press. Celtic have struggled to break teams playing a low block the way that St Mirren did against Rangers today. And it was a mistake that got us the goal against St Johnstone to make it 1-0. If a team keeps it compact and keeps it nothing each, I think we'll struggle. But having Giacomakis, I need to think every time I try and pronounce his name. Having him as an option to...
You're still assuming you're getting it right. I just don't know to correct you.
But we've got him there to whip boxes in, and we've never had that option in a long time for a low block. So things are looking good. Ange Ball, Gavin, Ange Ball is slowly ticking away. That's 3 clean sheets in a row and 4 wins in a row. Happy days at Parkhead.
So who's important in the system you're playing? Who's making it tick? Is there anybody any more important than anybody else, or is it?
The good thing is that it's actually a unit, a system. Unlike Lennon's last year, which was Edward will bail us out with a moment of magic. But we've got this unit, but there are standouts within that unit. Kyogo, definitely. Jota, definitely. And I know we're talking about Celtic St Johnstone, but can we just talk about Jota's pass to Kyogo during Werner Carlos? Oh my goodness. Oh, what a pass. Have you seen as good a pass in that in Scottish football in a long time?
I reckon my ball through a couple of weeks ago at Sevens was great. I think somebody missed that one, but still.
Oh. Yeah, so those two, McGregor as well, Juranovic when he comes in is a class above, and that's to the system. But we're still a couple of players short, so it's exciting because we're playing well, we're getting results, clean sheets, and we're still saying you can improve. So it's good times.
What is interesting is the Celtic are actually playing pretty well, and their next game is against a team that's not played well the last couple of weeks because you're playing Hibs. So is it Wednesday you play Hibs?
Yeah, Wednesday.
So one of the big talking points of the Celtic game, now we discussed this in the WhatsApp group, and Bob had his say on it. I didn't really comment. Should it have been a red card for Kane?
Definitely. He kicked Carter Vickers twice and slapped it. I'm not going to say punch, it was a slap. But he still raised his hands with the intent of hitting the opponent. That is a red card every day of the week.
Now, I will disagree with you with 1 point, but then agree with you in the last point. The first one for the foul, that should have been a foul is St Johnstone because Carter Vickers has got his basically sitting on the ball and not letting anybody play with it. That's dangerous play, and Kane has every right to go for the ball. After that, though, if you're raising your hand in any way, shape, or form and moving it towards somebody's face, and something that I'd consider violent conduct, how can that not be a red card? But Porteous' slide tackle, the one the ball was.
And something that wasn't really commented on was that when Carter Vickers is trying to get up, Craig Bryson is hitting his head as well, which isn't a red card, but if that's a yellow card, surely. If that's a yellow card, then that's a yellow card. It's consistency.
I think when you get a scramash like that, and you've got players sort of jumping about the place, I just want to be one of the players just to slap somebody in the back of the head while I'm facing the other way, just to turn around and see who's done that. I've done that a couple of times actually. There's no clue what's happening, so they're really pissed off at it. It's a funny thing, you know. When you do something like that, it's a reaction that makes the referee see how serious it is sometimes. And Bob will come on and he'll tell us that the referee will not be swayed by reaction. If Celtic players see Kane throwing a hand towards Carter Vickers, if every Celtic player then crowds the referee and starts shouting and complaining, and there's a bit more of a thing, I think he gets sent off. I think that whether the referee's view was blocked, obviously, I think looking at the replays, he had a great view of the actual initial incident, but then as he swung a hand across, I'm not sure if his view was impeded. So whether that is a red card that comes from the panel, which is completely useless, doesn't help Celtic in any way, shape, or form. So it shouldn't actually come into play.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it might still be a red card eventually.
Yeah, potentially, but nobody's impartial. Nobody is devoid of emotions. It's going to play a role, and if you've got 10 players crowding you saying that was a hand to the face, it's a red card, refs are probably going to give it, unless he speaks to something like no chance, they're just trying to get away with it. But it was a red card. Would it have made any difference to the game? No, because St Johnstone didn't even go out to attack, and I think Chris Kane made more contact with Carter Vickers than he made with the ball for the whole game. It was St Johnstone were awful. Like, they were defensively sound, but their intent for the game was awful. They went for nothing each. Shocking. Anti-football. Disgusting. Moving on.
So it's anti-football against Angie Ball.
Anti-football against Ange Ball, and thank goodness Ange Ball won, because it would be a sad day if anti-football won. The next game, Dundee United Motherwell. I'm going to give you your stat before we talk about this game, because it shocked me. Going into this weekend, that was 11th v 12th in expected points.
Was it?
Yeah.
All right. So Dundee United, after winning that game and before the Rangers game, were sitting equal top of the league.
Yeah.
Before Rangers played their game, and they're sitting 11th, 12th in the expected points.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. I'm surprised with that, because every time I've watched them, they've played well. They look good. Other than when Hibs bet them 3-0. Other than that time.
They didn't actually look that great that day for some reason.
I said, they look compact, they look a good unit, look clinical. But yeah, it shocks me. Even Motherwell, I thought Motherwell would be higher.
Yeah. Again, Motherwell, they don't think they're top half of the table, but they're top of the bottom half of the table. At least they're doing well.
Yeah. But it's another victory for Dundee United, and if you're Dundee United, you're laughing.
I think when you look at the stats that you're talking about, there's nothing better than throughout the course of a season, everybody's going to have grey patches where they're not playing well. Not very many teams can go the whole season, including Rangers and Celtic, can go the whole season playing well. It's just what results you can pick up when you're not playing well. And if this is their patch that they're not playing well and they're picking up the results they're picking up, they'll be laughing at that.
Yeah, or it could be the reverse, where they are getting results they don't deserve, and then when they start playing well, they don't put the ball in the back of the net, and it's that reversion to the mean.
It'll even themselves up. I'll still be surprised if they finish top half the table.
Well, same here, but they are an exciting one to watch, and I'm sure their manager, who is an analyst background, crikey, she'll get that word out.
Maybe that should be playing up front for Celtic too.
But he must be looking at the expected points going, crikey, we're not playing well. The fans will have this euphoria saying, oh, we're joint top of the league, blah, 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 blah. But he's probably thinking, crikey, we've scraped another result.
Yeah.
But no, it's an interesting one to watch to see if their performances do improve. Because Yeah, I think we can classify them as lucky. And then the
Lucky
final
United.
game, lucky United. Yes. The final game of the
I
SPFL
love that.
weekend is Hearts 1, Dundee 1. Disappointing result for Hearts.
Mini Sevco throw it away with Cum Dog just finishing up with a goal.
Yes. Do you want to gloat for a second? A former Hibs player scoring against Hearts.
Yeah. No, because Cum Dog's still a bit of a prick. The thing with Cummins is he came through the Hearts Academy. I think he was a Hearts fan. Hearts dumped him at 14, 15, I can't remember what age he was. And he went to Hibs after that, turned out professional football player. So I think he does like playing against Hearts because obviously the team that didn't allow him to be professional. So it's always good to sort of try and get one up on somebody that tells you you're not good enough for them. So I think it's probably more of that than him being an ex-Hibby. But you look at him, Griffiths, McPake, all ex-Hibs players, and yeah, it's nice to see Dundee take a point.
Yeah. And that gives them a little bit of breathing space from Ross County. And
I'm pretty sure we said last week about Mini Sevco that the run of games that they had next were probably an easier run of games, and you'd expect them to win them all, or at least not lose any. That's the first one out the way. They've not won, but they've not lost.
yeah,
And to be fair, if you're going to keep drawing games, you're as well losing one and winning the rest, as opposed to drawing most of them. I think
yeah,
they'll be disappointed with dropping 2 points.
I think so, particularly with Cummings' goal coming on the 83rd minute.
Yeah.
You think at home, Hearts should be seeing the last 10 minutes out against Dundee. But there you have it. So that was this week's games in the SPFL. It leaves Rangers top of the league, 3 points clear of Hearts and Dundee United. Celtic are a point behind them with the best goal difference in the league, which is 17, followed by Hibs and Motherwell are in the top six.
The top six. Okay.
The bottom six goes St Mirren, Aberdeen, Livingston, St Johnstone, Dundee, Ross County. So after Wednesday, that'll be each team playing each other once. Let's have a rough look at the league table and see how it's looking for end of season predictions. But moving from the SPFL, how do you even describe this weekend in the English Premier League?
Goalfest.
Goalfest. That's the only way to describe it. And every game, I think, has its own narrative as well.
Oh, like, there's at least one team in every game that's got a backstory.
Yeah, but I think even with that, there's one that's pretty obvious where to begin.
Yeah,
and it's at Old Trafford, or the House of Horrors. I heard Peter Drury describe it as when the fans started leaving the car park and filling the trains on the 50th minute. You're a Man U fan. Is it time for Ollie to go?
There has to be a line somewhere. There has to be a point at some point that you say, I don't think he's going to turn it around for this, or he's perfectly capable of mustering along and keeping Man United floating about top six. I have no doubts that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would keep Man United that part of the table. I don't know what I think that he still deserves a bit more time. I don't know what's happening in the background. I still think he needs players. The players that he's brought in, not all of them fit his system. And it's difficult for him. I think it's more a recruitment issue than a manager issue. There is tactics that he's got wrong. You're not going to lose 5-0 to Liverpool at home and not have got a couple of tactics wrong. But I still think he requires a bit more time.
So you mentioned recruitment being wrong. Obvious name goes Ronaldo.
I don't think Ronaldo's a wrong recruitment. I think you've got to take into account when you sign him that you've got to change your system. The system that Man United were playing before, I suppose they've always sort of played with a system of sitting back a bit. If you're going to press teams, Ronaldo isn't that player, and it's not because he's 35 and too old to run. He's never done it. He never done it at Real Madrid when Mourinho was there. That's why Mourinho fell out well. It didn't suit Mourinho's high press and workaholic striker. So Mourinho had to find a system that hid him to a degree, or don't run without the ball and we'll get everybody else chasing, and then as soon as we get the ball, that's you back on the pitch. I don't think it works to the system that Man United have been playing, and it's been the past 9 games, and it's hard to say that because Ronaldo scored in a few of those games and won because of Ronaldo goals in those games. But it's not because Man United played well, it's because Ronaldo got a couple of goals. So you've got to find a medium ground here of keeping Ronaldo on the pitch, because he will score goals. You need to keep your goal scorers on the pitch, but finding a system that allows you to play with him.
Yeah, and another thing, looking at the Man U team today, you're going, where's Sancho? Where's Van Beek? Where are they? Where's Pogba at the beginning of the game?
Yeah. So when I mentioned the recruitment side of things, Sancho and Van Beek and Ronaldo were the 3 names I was thinking. Van der Beek probably would have been as well, just not signing for Man United. He's not done anything. He's not had the chance to do anything. Sancho, since he's came to Man United, hasn't done a thing, really. I can't think of one full game that he's played well, maybe 20-minute periods, but not playing well for a full game. I don't know if he's not got a Haaland in the box, but to be fair, it has Ronaldo, so can't really argue with that. I don't know if the German game is just different and he's not got as much time, or if there's a bit more pressure on him. But it's just not worked for Sancho. So your 3 big signings. I know Van der Beek's maybe a wee bit earlier than the summer there, but Sancho being your biggest signing hasn't done anything. Ronaldo coming in, bit less money, has made a difference. But you can't have your biggest signing, which was Sancho originally. That was the one that they tried for the longest. Ronaldo just got chucked at the last minute. You can't have your biggest signing not work.
Another name I would add to that is Harry Maguire. He was awful against Leicester last week.
Yeah. Also, him and Shaw. Shaw actually was at fault for at least 2, possibly 3 goals. It's difficult when you try to blame a player for a goal because he's positioning, because you don't know what he's been told to do in the training ground. One of the first goal, when Fernandes has broke formation and pressed the goalie, Greenwood has then pressed Van Dijk. So when that happens, what should happen is your pivots, your centre midfield. If your right winger has started to press, everybody at that point needs to start pressing, and you pivot round. So your right wing has pressed the centre half. Your right back then takes the right wing. Centre half comes over. Centre half comes over. Left back comes over, and then your left winger drops into left back, and that's a complete swing pivot, and it keeps everybody in a position and presses the ball and keeps everybody marked. That didn't happen. When the first press happened, Fernandes went, then Greenwood went late, then Wan-Bissaka went late, then Maguire came over late, and then it looks like Shaw's just left there on his own because the left winger didn't come in to cover. So you're sort of looking at it and thinking, Shaw, what are you doing there? But I don't know what he's been told to do or what the rest of the team has been told to do.
Yeah.
I can't quite blame Shaw for it if it's a formational thing. But when you press, you have to press as a team, and not everybody pressed quick enough.
Yeah, Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher were both lamenting about that. They were not pressing as a system.
Do apologise, didn't see that bit.
No.
Everything they say.
They were saying that it were individuals pressing and they were pressing too late, so Liverpool had far too much room. And that they say that comes down to tactics. That's not. It's players, but players devoid of confidence, devoid of leadership because of a manager.
The problem with it was the ball coming from Alisson to Van Dijk, and then getting into Man United's right back position. Not enough pressure on the ball, and getting the ball from a goalkeeper up to your own left wing with no pressure on it at all shouldn't be happening in the Premier League at all. Never mind from Man United.
Yeah. Man U's next game is away to Tottenham. If they lose that, is it time for Ollie to vacate the wheel?
No, not yet. I think I still have issues with recruitment. I've said every week Fred's not good enough. 56 seconds it took him to kick the ball to the pitch. 56 seconds. His first touch of the ball, he had time to control it and make a pass, and he's just booted out the pitch. I do not understand how he's still getting his game. Pogba being on the pitch there as well. And the other thing I wanted to comment on during this game, there was a series of play. The Man United had the ball, and the ball's getting popped about in midfield, and the person controlling all that was Scott McTominay. So the ball's going out wide, going to Fernandes, back into McTominay, out wide again, back into McTominay, out wide, and he's controlling the tempo, and this is a guy who we watch for Scotland, and we sit and think he's not good enough at the position. He can't get into the centre midfield for Scotland, and he's controlling Man United's centre midfield, which isn't his position. It's Ken Pogba's there for that. Fred definitely isn't there for that. And the other things, Man United had chances early on. Fernandes had a chance early on. Looking at the stats here, Man United caught offside 7 times. One of those times was Ronaldo had the ball in the net. Offside, but it wasn't offside by much. Aye.
Yeah.
Rant over. Keep ranting.
No, that sounds good. But do you credit Liverpool's performance within that?
I think there has to be an accreditation to a point. I think looking at the game, though, I didn't understand why they didn't smell blood and go for the throat. 4-0 at half time. Pogba sent off 15 minutes into the second half, I think. And they scored 1 goal in the second half. Man United done well, kept it to 1-0 in the second half. This should have been smelling blood and going for the jugular. But look, Salah played well, got his hat-trick. But to be honest, going into this game in my fantasy football team, I took out Bruno Fernandes and I put in Salah. And it sort of worked well this week, which shows you the amount of confidence I had. And the only issue I had was I had Ronaldo as captain because I still thought he'd get a goal. So Salah wasn't captain, but it was in my team.
Oh, Salah was my captain.
Damn you!
You were talking about McTominay in Scotland, and the person who gets in that central defence midfielder role is Billy Gilmore. His 2 teams were playing each other this weekend.
Yep.
One of them
was he playing?
No. I think he was celebrating though.
What would that be after the boss saying that about you?
One team absolutely rampant. The other one abysmal. I think they make the Derby County team of Kenny Miller look good in the Premier League. But Chelsea take nothing away from them. 7-0 victory at Stamford Bridge. Mason Mount hat-trick. Reece James scored a goal as well. So academy players getting involved. And that was without Werner and Lukaku.
I mean,
happy days.
The guy who you're expecting to get all your goals this season, Lukaku, not playing, and you scored 7 goals. They played well, but Norwich are gutless. They're looking at. We spoke about this in Man United. You can have any system you want if your players didn't press in the middle of the park. If they're not trying, if they're not tackling, if they're not running, you're not going to win games, and you're going to go to teams like Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, and they're just going to score goal after goal. So it turns into a training exercise for them. I mean, I would bet that Chelsea's training during the week was more difficult than their game against Norwich.
Yeah, and that was like a 7-0 training victory. That's how I heard it described. Norwich just look soft. Like
yes.
Type of thing. They just look up.
It's almost as if they would benefit from a central midfielder who could put the ball out and keep possession of it. Unfortunately, they've decided not to bother using any of their loanees anymore and just keep their own players, which they're just get relegated this season. They've got no chance.
Yeah. Your Chelsea want to recall them as soon as you can.
What Billy Gilmore needs to do is, even if it's on loan or on a sale, is go out to Germany. Go out to Germany, play football there. Get a game, because you'll get a lot of game time out there. And you look at people like, is it Jude Bellingham? Yep. He's on fire out there. And you get a lot of chance out there to actually perform. Then come back to the Premiership and go with a lower team. And then I do think he's good enough to play for Chelsea. It's just obviously the competition at the current time isn't anywhere near his level yet.
Yeah, and Bellingham scored a good goal this week.
Did.
So I think
you're calling him the next Messi.
That's not a bad show. Gilmore going to Germany to play football. But yeah, Norwich. Will they get fewer points than Derby got in 2006, I think it was?
Will they go the season without winning a game? If they play like that, they will not win a single game. I would expect their manager to turn things around to an extent. He has been there a little while now. He should be able to do it. But even Hanley looked shocking. That's the guy that I'm sort of singing his praises for Scotland. And you look at the performances at Norwich, and whether it's players around them or the system's not working or what, but he's just trying to cover too many people making too runs with no help from anybody around them.
Yeah, I think Norwich are just outclassed in most games they played this season.
Yep.
And the system's overstretched, and players who are good just look bad. I think that's what it's going to be like. I think, well, I was going to say the surprise result of the weekend, maybe result rather than scoreline, is Everton 2, Watford 5. That comes after Watford getting defeated 5-0 by Liverpool last week. What happened in this game?
Well, Everton were in it for the start, and they actually looked quite controlling through some of the game. But was King got a hat trick, and he just had something different that the defenders weren't coping with. But you've got to look at Claudio Ranieri coming in and changing things around. I mean, this is his second game. Really difficult to judge him on a first game, especially against Liverpool and getting gubbed 5-0. But I think...
Don't judge Ollie by it. You can't judge Ranieri by it.
Looking at a couple of the games, this is Man United, Norwich, and last week against Liverpool Watford game. Sometimes just getting through a game and just getting beat, it doesn't benefit you any. Sometimes it's good, and it's not what the team wants to hear or any fans want to hear. Sometimes it's good to get gubbed and just all your weaknesses getting showed. You've lost 3 points. You didn't go on a run of 6 weeks losing. You lost one bad game. Everybody gets into training. They turn the heat. They turn the corner, and they try to go through the paces of what they can do to change. If you're just losing games week after week, it doesn't feel the same. And I think a lot of teams, it benefits them from getting gubbed. It gives you, right, this is our line in the sand. This is what we've got to do, go from here. And I think Watford have done that, and they've saw what's wrong. They've corrected things. They've pressed. They were hungry. There was desire, and there was a bit of quality for King. So, very, very happy with Claudio Ranieri. Good to have him back in the league.
So we should be predicting a Man U and Norwich win next week.
Yes.
With that.
Maybe not Norwich, but Man U are just playing Spurs anyway. So,
Agent Rafa, is this another sign that he is indeed an agent?
It's a difficult. I mean, they were in the game for a long time. It was the last section of the game. It just sort of got away from them.
Very unlike a Benitez team to crumble. Like.
Aye, and I don't know. I didn't see enough of the game to judge on what he needs to change or what he needs to do. So quick highlights of the goals, and that was it. Obviously, 7 goals, so it's a long enough highlight reel.
I think the one thing that any Everton fan will agree with is that you need Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison back to replace Rondon.
Yes.
Rondon makes Lee Griffiths last season look fit.
Richarlison came on and scored. And it was like right after he came on. It was, I don't know if it was first touch or what, but it was the long after it was on. So players like that make a difference.
Yeah, if he's back rather than Rondon, I expect Everton to keep picking up results. Budgets are tight, but they've recruited well. Gray, Townsend, they'll be fine.
A good player.
Yes. Another team that have recruited well, West Ham, and they were victorious over the mighty Tottenham Hotspur. I say mighty, ironically, sarcastically. Nuno out. I think that's what.
So you watched this game or parts of the game. Are West Ham just better than Tottenham? What's your feelings on that? West Ham have turned a corner and pushing forward. Have they got better players than Falkirk than Tottenham?
Yes, they've got certainly better players than Falkirk.
Have they got better players than Tottenham, or are they just playing more as a team? Because they do seem a lot better just now.
It's a good question. Player by player, not really thought of it. System-wise, definitely. Moyes.
Would you take Antonio over Kane?
On current form, yes. Since the summer, yes. Before the summer, no. I think Kane is a better player, but on current form, Antonio is much better. You go through the team.
I'm looking at the teams, and I sort of pulled that comment out of nowhere, but I'm sort of looking at them thinking.
The central midfield.
I think a lot of the West Ham players get in that Tottenham team.
Rice and Souček walk right into it.
And I will be completely honest. I will start a campaign now. Fred out, Rice in. That's he needs to be playing for Man United. He needs to go places and win things. And
don't go to Man United.
Yeah, so he can sit. Do a Van der Beek and sit at the bench, but I think Rice to Man United, one of the few teams that have got money to try and lure him away from West Ham. Will not be cheap, but it's a must for Man United.
Yeah, he's a cracking player. Souček compliments him well. Sufo well. Cresswell started the season amazingly. Zuma, he was a shoot signing. Fabianski is a solid goalkeeper. Benarima, he's a good player.
I like Bowen.
Yeah, Bowen's a good player. He's recruited well.
Yeah.
Moyes recruited a lot of these players.
Yeah.
So they're good. And would I prefer, uh, if you're objective and a glory hunter and that was your two choices, you'd be picking West Ham just now. They look like they've got a system, the fans are buying into it. The atmosphere for the London Stadium was actually quite loud. Tottenham are just hopeless, struggling in the Europa, I say in the Europa League, the Conference League. I'm not even good enough for the Europa League. Nuno's, the team's not buying into him. Pitiless, get rid of him, out.
Are you starting to see a style of play from Nuno, or is there?
No. The players just look lost. I just don't think he's what Tottenham need at the moment. Tottenham's always a team that should excite people, even for a neutral. You think of Harry Redknapp, you think of Martin Yule, even go further back than that. Tottenham's always been an exciting team to watch. Yeah, and Nuno is just boring to watch. Get rid of him, get Potter in. I don't need to go on a rant anymore. Tottenham were just hopeless. West Ham deserve to win.
I'll only bore you with much of the facts, but Tottenham had a lot more of the possession, a lot more passes, a couple more corners, but West Ham still had the better expected goals.
No surprises there.
And from what I saw in highlights, Antonio was bullying the centre half.
Yes, a centre half cost 50 million when Zuma cost 30 million.
Yeah.
So that says a lot. To cheer myself up, I think it's the other team from North London we're going to now. Oh, crikey. Arsenal 3, Aston Villa 1. Villa's your second team, I guess, with McGinn.
Yep.
Arsenal blew them away for the first half.
That I look at what Arsenal have been over the past 3-4 years, probably since Wenger left anyway, and there's just never any fight, never any balls, no gumption, and over the past few weeks they've started putting things together. They're first to the ball, winning second balls. Lacazette playing behind the striker. He's him. He was all over the place. He's winning things. He won the penalty, which was a
harsh.
Aye.
Particularly because the ref never gave it. It was overruled from VAR. I thought that was harsh.
Aye, and obviously it was the halftime whistle didn't go. It was a stoppage he played that the referee blew for it. Then Martinez saves the penalty, at which point
it was a good save.
It was the understanding. If the referee had blown for halftime, and then the VAR had said it was a penalty, there still would have been a penalty. But as soon as that penalty was taken, if it was saved, it would have been halftime. So because the referee blew for a stoppage of play, didn't do the double blow for the halftime, he blew his whistle, single blow. They had 8 seconds left on the clock, and he managed to get the rebound in. But Martinez had a few good saves within the game. There's a couple of fumbled ones. There was one that I thought was, I think he dropped it through his legs almost, and I was surprised it didn't go in. And it was a difficult game to watch at times while you're supporting Aston Villa, because I think Arsenal were better to the ball just about all over the pitch.
Yeah, the thing that impressed me from looking at Arsenal and Arteta is that you look at the team that they put out. Ramsdale, his signing, his distribution was top class.
Yes.
Tavares, the left back, because Tierney's injured again.
Yep.
He looked good, very attacking, direct, good understudy. Gabriel and White, both his signings, they look good, complement each other well. Tall, physical. Gabriel, more tall. But White, a good distributor, running out of defence. Tommy Yasu, right back, looks good. Partey and Lukaku.
Brilliant in the middle of the park.
That's that physicality you were talking about. He offers that, and Arsenal have needed that since Patrick Vieira. You've got Smith Rowe, Saka, two young promising talents that Arteta gave the break to. And then
Smith Rowe as well. Aston Villa tried extremely hard to sign Smith Rowe during the transfer window in the summer, and unfortunately for Arsenal couldn't. But I don't think he was ever going to go for how highly he's thought about Arsenal.
Yeah. So if you're Arteta, the turnaround in fortunes from first 3 games of the season, bottom of the league, people saying, is it worth it? No, they're playing well, getting results, looking aggressive on the front foot. I think you're pretty happy if you're Mikel Arteta just now.
I think, especially after the first 3 games, like you said.
Yeah, but if you're Dean Smith, you're worrying a little bit.
Well, that's been sort of 2 weeks. I mean, the game against Wolves, I don't know, something's happened at sort of the half-time sort of time of that, whether they thought they were just going to cruise it from there. Wolves turned the game around, scored 3 goals, and they went into this game against Arsenal on the same footing as they were. I don't know, I think they changed formation throughout the game. They had to, something had to change. They're trying to play Ings and Watkins up front, as well as Buendia behind them to keep everyone taking over. McGinn ends up sort of drifting a little bit further forward, depending on how the game is going. He'll either sit further forward or sit further back wherever is needed. And Louise has to sort of control in front of the defenders there. They're a decent team. They're just, I think there's just maybe some games that they need to change their system a bit earlier. They tried to stay with the 3 at the back for too long. When they went to 4 at the back, they seemed a bit better. That's sort of matching up with what Arsenal had.
Yeah, I think the 3 at the back also means that Leon Bailey's not starting.
Yes.
And he's a cracking player.
Yeah.
He should be in the team if he's fit. And part of me is wondering, would Aston Villa benefit from a 4-2-3-1 with Watkins on the left, and then Ings up top with Buendia behind and Bailey on the right?
Probably. I think Watkins will end up drifting out wide in certain games. I don't think they go too up top. I prefer McGinn further forward with Louise sitting at the back in front of the defence. I think McGinn offers a lot more press. We spoke before about pressing as a team. He's the trigger for that. He makes everything work. As soon as the first person goes, he goes, and Aston Villa press extremely well off the ball. But if he's sitting deeper and more your sort of Kante role, it's not where he flourishes.
Yeah.
He had a couple of top shots as well. But it's trying to get as many as your good players into the positions that they should be playing.
Yeah, I think with 4-2-3-1, that would give McGinn the freedom to roam forward when needed. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see how they fit the players in, because they are good players.
There is. They've actually got a bench full of good players now.
Yeah.
When you look at Bailey coming off the bench, Cameron Archer, who's actually done really well, Jacob Ramsey, Ilya Elgias, Ashley Young's barely played this season, and Morgan Sanson, who was signed last year and was supposed to be the next best thing, and hasn't really performed yet.
Yeah, talking about a bench of superstars, Man City went to Brighton, defeated them 4-1. Not really surprised.
No, I think Brighton would have put themselves a boot in the game. I think that they cleared one off the line, I think, from what I saw for the highlights. But Man City are just going to beat a lot of teams at that level. I don't think there's a massive. I don't think we're actually going to sit here and think that Brighton were going to get anything out of that game.
No, they did play well in the second half. Racing Lamptey looked good when he came on. A couple of good runs. So when he's
I like Lamptey actually. Glad that he's starting to get games again because he was quiet for a while.
yeah, he was out injured for a long time.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's coming back is a positive. But I don't usually tell him off. But Mr. Potter, that's what happens when you drop Shane Duffy.
That's it. But he gets.
It is. Probably a more exciting game for the neutral was at St Mary's, which was Southampton 2, Burnley 2. Two teams bottom end of the title, or of bottom end of the table, not the title.
I think that either of them are getting anywhere near the title.
No, but it was an interesting, entertaining game. Do you think both teams will have enough to escape relegation?
I'll be honest, I didn't think Southampton were going to at the start of the season, but they have strong performances together, wins together. I think what's thrown the cat amongst the pigeons is Newcastle's takeover, because where they're sitting, they're not looking great until January comes, and that sort of takes away another competitor that either of them would have had. It's going to be tight in there. The teams that I thought were going to struggle, Palace, Newcastle, they're actually, I can't see them down there anymore.
No, well, maybe after January.
Yeah, after January.
But no, I think from a Scottish perspective, it was good to see Mac Livramento, Southampton's right back, score a goal. And he hit the post.
Yep. Is he better than O'Donnell,
though? A starting 18-year-old right back in the Premier League versus O'Donnell. I think Mac Livramento is just got it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But is he Nathan Patterson?
Funnily enough, this was a conversation on social media again, and obviously one set of fans decided that Nathan Patterson was the best thing since sliced bread, and it didn't matter what sort of level of player it was getting compared to him. He was going to be the right back for Scotland for the next 100 years, according to them. Yeah, they're not very good at time scales. They think their team's 150-year-old. So, but looking at Livramento, he had a really good game. Everything that he'd done, it didn't seem like an 18-year-old. It was a seasoned professional. Did he make a lot of mistakes? He got his goal. It wasn't a fabulous goal, but it hit the post, which was a better run. And then throughout the game, driving forward, got the ball, passed the ball, moved the ball, recycled it, won the ball in defence. His spatial awareness was fine. Even his positioning constantly fine. Nothing wrong at all. You couldn't pick fault with his performance. So I'd like to see a lot more of him, but I'm hoping Steve Clarke's already been doing watching and had a conversation with the laddie. Obviously, I think he is. What nationality is he? Because listening to him speaking in the interview afterward, I thought he was English. But
English.
I'd have to double check that.
I think
Sure.
I think he can play for 4 teams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any of them below Scotland in the league rankings? Looking at.
Let's see.
Speak amongst yourselves. But looking at them, if it's England, if it's a toss-up between Scotland and England, the right back in England is kind of sewn up with Trent Alexander-Arnold.
He didn't even make the Euros team.
Yeah, Trippier,
James,
Walker, Chilwell, Walker, Cresswell.
I think what
Cresswell's left back
is he should play for Scotland.
Yeah, I think looking at his chances there, if he's wanting an international career where he's going to get a lot of caps, Scotland's the way forward.
Yeah. Other game, 3 more to go. Next one is Brentford 1, Leicester 2. Brentford won on XG again, but Leicester nicked the result. That's a couple of results in a row for Leicester now.
I think they've turned the corner. I said before, teams will go through a bad run, and it's whether you pick up your points during your bad run. They didn't really pick up points early on, but I think they will now start to push on. They are a top 6 team. I'd expect them to win most of the games, especially even against some of the bigger teams. Brentford obviously giving them a bit more of a scare this week. But young Daka showing his prowess midweek. Again, pops in with a substitute appearance and sets up a goal.
Yeah.
The story I heard about him, obviously I had to isolate when he came over and signed. Had to isolate in his room, so Leicester were like, right, what do you want? Do you want a PlayStation? Do you want a telly? What do you want? We'll kit your room out so that you're stuck in your room, but we'll kit. No, just give me books, just some books, and I'll read my books and I'll learn about Leicester and I'll do all that. Just I didn't want a PlayStation or a computer, just pile of books and I'll be fine. So he's got his head screwed on. He wanted to learn about the country and everything about it, as opposed to playing Call of Duty and FIFA.
I laugh because you said that you wanted to get some books about Leicester, and I think the most famous thing in Leicester's history, other than winning the Premier League in 2016, was the finding of the body of Richard III, King Richard III, the last English king to be killed in battle, and his head was separate
also
from
his body. Also a Courtney Ryman thing as well. Don't know why.
But no, Daka seems to be screwed on, but you have to remember that is a Brendan Rodgers story.
Yes.
And Brendan Rodgers claimed that when he was stuck in traffic in the Clyde Tunnel, a Rangers fan was in the car beside him, rolled down the window and said, "I don't like your team, but I'm glad that you're up here." I was like, take what he says with a pinch of salt. That didn't happen. Yeah, so I'm sure Daka was playing FIFA, Football Manager, and Call of Duty. Maybe he had an audiobook on in the background when doing so.
Yeah.
But no, he's a good player. I think they found a ready-made replacement for Vardy, which is encouraging if you're a Leicester fan.
Yep.
Second to last game is Crystal Palace v Newcastle. Where do we begin here? I think it's
I saw the goals on the pitch, first of all. Wilson's overhead kick and Benteke's actually turning back at there. Remember when Benteke used to actually be a good player?
Yeah.
And then for a long time he was pish.
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to, I'm not saying he's a good player again, but he's starting to turn the corner again. Him and Edward up front actually look dangerous. But I think the bigger talking points was off the pitch. Yeah,
it was a good finish by Callum Wilson. 2 in 2 games. If he stays fit, Newcastle will be much improved their chances of staying up. Because it means they don't have to buy a striker. Because he's good. But yeah, the banner off the pitch. without going into politics, which is pretty hard considering what was on the banner.
Yeah.
Is
First of all, is there anything wrong with a fan bringing a banner like that into the stadium?
yes,
Okay,
but no. At the same time, I don't like politics in football. Let's just put it like that.
Aye.
I go to Celtic Park as a Conservative, and I feel out of place when there's political banners which kind of go against the politics which I vote for. So I think that just adds division where division doesn't have to be involved. You want to go to the stadium to unite behind the team, but behind the club. And when people bring politics into it, it's just a natural cause of division. So
yeah,
I don't like political banners in football stadiums. But I also understand that the Premier League have brought this onto themselves by approving Saudi Arabian ownership. Yep. And Saudi Arabia as a country does not have the proudest records when it comes to human rights, censorship, journalist support, and so on. And fans are right to call that out and say, yes, Newcastle and the league have all this money because of this ownership, but it comes with all this. So, yes, it's a tough one. The thing that I find quite funny about it all is that the police are investigating on the grounds of offence. Like, surely they should be investigating on the grounds of, is this true? Because if it's true, how can it be offensive? Because
that's the thing. At what point is stating facts offensive?
Yeah, and if people are saying things based on facts, then I don't think you should be able to cause offence. Oh, you can be able to cause offence, but it's not a criminal act.
No, definitely not. I'm on the same page as you. I don't think politics and football should cross paths much. Obviously, it's a very political thing, though, with a lot of money coming into the English game. Also saw that all the other teams in the league had voted against Newcastle using a certain way.
Man City abstained.
Well, they abstained because they used to do it. That's exactly why they abstained. And that's the issue. You can't, after one team has used a certain avenue to make money, you can't then say, right, I can they done it, but you're not allowed to do it.
Yeah. No, so it's a tough one.
At the end of the day, it's their money, and they will, if they want to buy a football team, they're not doing anything wrong in buying it. It's just whether the Premier League feels that it's right that they do so. But you don't end up with that sort of money by selling poppies at the corner shop for 50 pence a go. I mean, Abramovich didn't have the sort of money he's got by doing everything ethically. And you could go through most millionaires and you'd find somewhere back in their lineage that they've either had slaves or something along the lines of not being right. Yes, it's not right in what the things do, but some of the stuff isn't actually illegal in their country. So it's at what point you say they've done wrong, they've not done wrong, they've done everything by their law because it's their law, it's their country.
Yes, and I think this comes to the point of what do the Premier League prioritise? Do they prioritise keep money coming in, or do they prioritise being a moral standard? And
I know for a fact they'll prioritise money.
Yes,
because it's what they do, it's what they've always done.
Yes, and the sense of irony in all that is that for past 18 months they've been taking the knee for the moral issue.
Yeah,
rainbow laces, for the moral issue, and that yet they accept money from state-owned company, essentially, in Saudi Arabia, who do not have the greatest, well, I say they don't have the greatest, they have an appalling record on LGBT rights.
Right. So the thing that got me right, when the whole system fell through the first time for them, it fell through the first time for two reasons. First reason was the human rights sort of stuff that they had, and the second reason was the pirate law. Now, that was the two reasons. One of the reasons got resolved because they've stopped pirating the, is it BN channel or whatever channel is it. So out of the two reasons that they weren't doing it, there was only one of those reasons that was stopping the Premiership making money. So you took away the reason that stopped the Premiership making money, and they didn't give a fuck about the human rights side of things. That just shows to a point. They had two reasons that they weren't letting them in, and as soon as the one that's going to cost the Premiership money was taken off the table, aye, bash on, go buy the club.
Kind of shows that Premier League is soulless.
Yes.
But yeah.
But we've got to look at the point as well. Newcastle are still in the relegation zone. Second bottom, 11 games now until the transfer window opens. Are they still going to be in the relegation zone at 11 games?
A lot depends on who replaces Bruce. I think it's a big risk appointing somebody like Hull or even Forenska, who doesn't know the league. I think they need to go for somebody with a track record of establishing a team in the Premier League. And I'm not going to say Potter, you'll be surprised. I've got a name that I think would be the best person they could go for.
I'm going to write a name as well. Right, what's your name?
Sean Dyche.
Sean Dyche is no bad shout. I went for Big Sam Allardyce.
For the second time, homecoming.
Yeah, I think he done all right last time. He ended up getting the England job. Fell through. I think he got Newcastle after England, didn't he? Can't remember which way around it went.
Mashing up in my mind.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd go with Big Sam. But you think Sean Dyche?
I think Sean Dyche. I think he's worked wonders at Burnley. He would get to prove himself in two ways. He'd get to prove his credentials as a manager who can shore up a Premier League position, but then with the money you get to spend, we could maybe see a more expansive Sean Dyche in the future. So I think it'd be a good career move for him, in terms of he would get an opportunity which he wouldn't get at Burnley, whilst the jobs are quite similar to begin with. So I think that would be a positive step for him and a pragmatic appointment. But his name will never be linked with it, which is sad.
No. I spoke in the podcast before about there just being certain managers who've been pigeonholed as certain types of managers, and they'll never be able to sort of put their head above the parapet and go to the next level unless they take a terrible team and take them up. So only way these managers will get up there.
Well, I think it's scandalous that Hull's been voiced before Dyche.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Final game of the Premier League weekend. Leeds won, Wolves won. Last minute equaliser. Could have been a last minute winner after the equaliser for Leeds. But other than that, pretty boring game.
Aye, there isn't much in this one. The Elves are maybe falling away things a bit now. There's no. Do you think how are Leeds doing in the table?
Those wise they're struggling, but they're playing well. They're creating chances. Bamford's been missing. Rafinha got injured yesterday. Harrison's a big player for them. They're just an incredibly unlucky team this season. I don't think it's time for Bielsa to go. I think Leeds will do fine. It's just, as you said, one of those terms of bad form, which which will pick up soon. So
At
Leeds,
the end of the day, if you're having a turn of bad form, you're still turning out a 1-1 draw. It's not the end of the world.
yeah, and
Um,
Wolves are a good team. Wolves are playing well this season, struggling to score, but playing well, creating chances, good system. So yeah, I think
Jimenez back in as well.
yeah. So one each. I think probably a fair result in terms of everything. So yeah, I think that's us. Review's complete.
Cool. That was easy.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you got a round table this week?
No,
Awesome.
we could go for one stupid one because I'm looking at a chessboard.
Oh man.
And if you could be one piece on a chessboard, what would you be and why? There you go. There's a stupid round table to finish this off.
My style of football, I like the long diagonals, so I'm going to go with a bishop, just so that you can go with a bishop.
I wouldn't go for a bishop. I'm going to go for a knight. Not because I want to be a sir, even though I do want to be a sir. I would break the lines, intricate movements, breaking the lines.
Let's go over the top.
Yeah, over the top, but also
With a bit of angle in it.
with an angle. As you see with my 7-a-side runs, I tend to run across the defence then behind.
Yeah.
So I think the knight represents me. And the bishop represents you. And
we're going to have to pick other players for the other chess pieces now. Gavin's a pawn.
Pawn.
Who's a pawn? I think Bob's a pawn.
Bob is a pawn.
Bob's only got one way of thinking. He'll only move forward and not sideways.
Yes, and then when he reaches the top, he occasionally turns into another piece. So yeah, definitely a pawn for Bob. I think Gavin would be a rook.
Rook for Gav?
A rook.
Yeah.
He is always up and down and sideways across the pitch during five-a-sides, but he's never in the corner positions. It's quite a unique skill.
Yeah. Who else have got?
So you've got a queen and a king left.
Oh.
Hmm.
I'm going to put Bruce as the king because he thinks he's really good, but he only moves a little bit at a time.
You might very well think that.
But he is an important piece.
You save yourself there.
Who are we giving the crown of being the queen to? It's got to be Benji.
Benji.
Who could be a queen?
Perhaps we can leave it vacant.
Nah, I'm getting Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Mitchell's queen. Shows up late, goes where he wants.
Indeed. And yes. He is the queen of the group. Hi, Alana.
Be called a queen.
Yes. And on that horrible bombshell that we have discovered
Sorry, Mitchell.
that Mitchell Drummond is a queen, I think it is time to end. Thanks for watching. As ever, please do comment your thoughts, subscribe, like, follow on all the appropriate social media channels. And yes, if you've made it this far, Ian, hope you're doing well and enjoying being top of the Premier League for now. Thanks for watching. Sports Hub Podcast.